Welcome to May. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We're in May already. I cannot believe it. Spring is here. Summer's around the corner. We're in full swing with the second quarter of 2021. It's crazy. And I'm turning 40 this year. That's crazy. And our family dog is turning 9 this month. And that makes me think we'll be lucky if we have 6 more years with him so that he's 15 years old, which makes me, cherish every moment and realize, to appreciate every moment. And that's why I'm wearing my grateful shirt. As you can see, I found it at Target. I like it. But just appreciate every moment. Do what you love. Do the work that you want to do. Build the businesses that you want to build. Keep learning, stay plugged in. And one of the things you can learn here with me today is some financial literacy for yourself, for your business. So I'm going to ask you, do you know what your financial statements are? If you have a business, you should know. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about, do you know what your financial statements are? Part 1, because your financial statements have 2 reports. There's a balance sheet and there's a profit and loss statement. And they both connect with each other. So I'm going to talk about part 1, which is the balance sheet. And I'm going to share my screen because it's fun. And it's, I can teach like that. And I'm going to relate it, I'll have it be as a business. But I'll talk about how you can relate it to your personal life too. So, because financial statements for business, you need those. You need those to prepare tax returns. You need those to submit to people. People will ask you for your financial statements if you're applying for a loan for something. So it's very important, and especially with all these, disaster loans and PPP loans and all these grants that everyone's offering, they were asking for your financial statements. So it's important to know what they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the balance sheet first, and I'm going to share my screen, and we'll talk about the balance sheet. So it's going to be super simple. I simplified it. And we can go into detail with all these different accounts, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to talk about it in simple terms. So this is your balance sheet. It's as of a certain date. So as of December 31st, 2020, what was the snapshot of your accounts at this specific date? Your balance sheet is your assets, total assets, and your liabilities and equity. And they both have to agree. So the total of your liabilities and equity has to agree with your assets. So, for example, let's say you deposit $1,000 in the bank to start your business. So you've got $1,000 in the bank. Well, it's got to go somewhere else. So you've got to put it somewhere else. Well, you invested that money, so it's going to go into your equity. So there you go. That's simple. You've got $1,000 in assets and $1,000 in your liabilities and equity. That's why it's called the balance sheet, because it's got to balance. These two have to balance. So this is as simple as it gets, You've got cash, you've got equity. But let's say, you spend some money on some stuff for your business and you put it on the credit card. Well, let's say you spent $500. Now you've got some liabilities and you've got some equity. And now your total liabilities and equity is $1,500. Well, did this $500 increase anything with your assets? No, it increased something with your expenses because you spent $500 to buy something for your expenses. So that's where this will get plugged in. You have a loss of $500 because you spent money. And that's where the part 2 of this training comes in, because part 2 is your profit and loss statement. So as a reminder, the balance sheet is just your assets and just your liabilities and equity. Part 2, your other report, is your profit and loss statement, which is your income and your expenses. So to connect this to your personal life, you've got assets, you've got, money in the bank. Maybe you have, property, and maybe you owe some credit card debt, and whatever's left over is your equity, is your net worth. That's really what your balance sheet is. So this is a simple version. Now, here is kind of a more detailed version that has more information, just to show you that your assets can be your cash in your bank. It can be, maybe you have a PayPal account, so that's your cash in your bank. It could be accounts receivable. Maybe money is owed to you. Maybe you are waiting to collect some money, so this is your accounts receivable. Maybe you have inventory. This is, you keep track of it on your balance sheet, your inventory. So you have your total current assets on your balance sheet. Maybe you have some fixed assets also, like computer equipment that's over $1,000. So if you have equipment that's over $1,000, you have to depreciate it. So then you keep track of this as accumulated depreciation. And then you've got your net, your total fixed assets, the net value. Well, you might have other assets, like maybe intellectual property. You spent money on some patents and trademarks. That's an asset to you. That's an other asset. So all of these combined come up with your total assets. So it can get a little more complicated. You can have all these different types of accounts. Same with your liabilities and equity. You could have your current liabilities, which is you owe money. You owe money to somebody. Oh, you have some credit card debt. That's your current liabilities. Maybe you have some long-term liabilities. Maybe you owe somebody else some money that you're not going to pay back within a year. Your current liabilities are activity that's within the year, and the long-term is anything over a year. So let's say you owe some money and you're not going to plan on spending it or paying them back within a year. So that's long-term. So there you go. You've got your total liabilities. And then you got some equity. You've got your owner's investments and your net income or loss. And this is where it relates to your profit and loss statement, which is going to be part 2. This is where this plugs in. So it all relates. They both need to balance each other. The balance sheet needs to balance from your total assets to your total liabilities and equity. And then this is where the profit and loss statement will come in, which I'll talk about next time in part 2. So that is what your balance sheet is. It's pretty simple. Your financial statements, your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement. Part 1, this is your balance sheet. Part 2, I'll talk about later, which is your income and expenses. So you can relate this to your business or your personal. What is your net worth? What are your assets? What are your liabilities? What's left over? It's a good snapshot of what you have at a certain date. So that's what that is. Let me know if you have any questions. These are your financial statements. Simplified version, balance sheet, P&L. You need these when you're going to get loans, when you were trying to get the disaster loans, the PPP loans. It's good to have, and it's good to keep track of, especially if you have a business. So if you have any questions, let me know. We can get into the details of all the little itty bitty accounts of all this stuff. And there's ratios that you can do to see what your financial health is. So it can get more complex. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this stuff. So hope this was helpful. Have a great rest of your Cinco de Mayo. Hopefully you can enjoy some good food. I'm doing this challenge. It's the levels. It's called Levels, and it's a glucose monitor that's stuck to me, and it measures my blood sugar for all the food that I eat, and it's connected to an app. And it's been fun, but it's been annoying, and it ends on Friday, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. But it's really cool. It's really cool to see the food that you put in your mouth turn into data, and to see your levels of your glucose, blood sugar rising with certain foods. And certain foods that I was very surprised. I was so sad that corn tortillas are not that good for you. Corn is not that good for you. It spikes your blood sugar. And you want it to be kind of level, because when your blood sugar spikes, then your insulin kicks in, and you don't want to get like insulin resistant. I'm not even near being close to diabetic, but it was really fun to have this connected to me and connected to an app and seeing in real time what my food does to me. So data is fun. Data, I love data. Data with our body metrics, with our sleep metrics. I have a little Amazon Halo, which tracks my sleep. So as you can see, I love all this data stuff. And when it comes to numbers, it's good to know what your numbers are. What are your financial statements? So there you go. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.